And we're back with another edition of the Early Apex. Thanks for joining us on today's episode. Dylan here with Rob. And Rob, our first segment of the day is going to be debating what the worst body style is of a car/vehicle. I have a very strong opinion about this. And I will let you lead off, though. I'll defer to you. What is, in your opinion, the worst body style somebody could buy for a vehicle? Whether it's, a coupe, sedan, hatchback, wagon. Obviously, it's not those. Those are the best. SUV. What is your worst body style of a vehicle?
Dylan, there is a disease, an affliction that has swept across the automotive world in the last 5 years, really. It's horrible. It's truly horrible. Crossovers.
Oh, boy.
You know it. I know it. They are the absolute worst vehicles. They're not SUVs, right? Even an SUV might, have the ability to go off-road, have some extra ground clearance or something, some extra storage space, maybe even a solid rear axle for some real towing capacity. But a crossover is just a jacked up hatchback. You took a market that actually, deep down knows that the hatchback is the most practical, sensible vehicle, right? Because you have the space back there, a smaller size for more efficiency, less weight. But you took Americans, they said, I want a big car. I want to sit up high, because the guy in the F-350 next to me is going to crush me. And so we made crossovers where they just literally take the hatchback models they already had, jack the same suspension up like 3-4 inches, and call it a crossover. Sometimes they have less cargo space than their hatchback counterparts. Less. It's an abomination. It's horrible. It is. And of course, you end up with absolutely no enthusiasm. They are the most soul-sucking, boring vehicles. There's no joy there.
Okay.
And no off-road ability. You just have it. It's just
Okay. Strong opening argument. Very strong opening argument. I'm going to have some counterpoints here in a moment. But I am going to counter with this. Rob, there is a disease. That disease is crossovers. The reason for that disease is the sedan. Rob, it's the sedan, and I'm going to tell you why.
It's the original sin, isn't it?
It is. The reason why the sedan is the causation of the crossover is because the sedan does absolutely nothing. It does nothing. It exists for no reason other than the fact that this is a vanilla white dry toast, no butter, nothing on it. It stands for absolutely nothing. Yes, you could open 4 doors. It doesn't do anything other than that. Get a wagon. Get a hatchback. You can put more stuff in it. Get an SUV because you can go off-road. Get a coupe because it's a sports car. A sedan does nothing. Yes, I will concede the fact that there are some cool sedans out there. But the problem with the sedan is that everything got tall, and now, because they started jacking up hatchbacks, everyone's realized actually how good the hatchback is, and they've just raised their hatchbacks, like the Subaru XV, for example. That's a hatchback that's 3 inches taller and now is a crossover.
See, that's the thing. The sedan is a horrible thing, right? It's you took.
I'm glad we can agree.
Yeah, you took something. You took the wagon, or the hatchback, and then you just made it less practical. You said, how can we make this less practical? And then they did it.
Yeah. And
right.
they did it, yeah.
And the result is that, you get less cargo space and nothing more. Absolutely nothing. However, you are still able to make a performance version of a sedan. You can still have, a lower seating position and enjoyable dynamics in a sedan. There's a long lineage of performance sedans.
Okay.
Right? However, the crossover is just a bastard, born with nothing good. There's nothing good in its soul, and there will be no enjoyable models made ever. It will be horrible forever. Yeah. And so this is the thing. It's taking with the sedan, you take something away. You take cargo space. With the crossover, you take everything away. You got the same or less cargo space, worse gas mileage because they have worse aerodynamics. You've got no more off-road ability. You've got far worse driving dynamics. No chance of performance or pep. And they're hideous. They're absolutely hideous. They're little.
What you're
wieners.
arguing, what you're arguing, is accurate if we rewound time by 3 years. The problem is this, Rob. There are some excellent crossovers that have been hitting the market in recent time. You've got the one and only, the car that I can't stop talking about, the Kona N.
That's the only one.
No, it's not the only one. We're gonna go through a couple of other ones. You got the Kona N. That's embarrassing cars like the WRX. Okay, so you've got performance crossovers coming that, let's be honest, you and I are going to look at and just say, hey, that's a hatchback that's 2 inches taller than it should be. That's okay. Because you want to know what that is? That's a rally car for the street, Rob. So you have Kona N. You also are starting to dabble in the off-roadability crossover with the Bronco. With the Bronco.
That's not a crossover.
All right.
Not a crossover.
No. The smaller Bronco is classified.
The Bronco Sport?
It's classified as a crossover.
No.
Yes.
No, that's just a marketing ploy. The Bronco Sport is built off of the Ford Edge chassis, which is a shitty little SUV. It was never a hatchback.
So
it is not a crossover. The Bronco Sport is not a crossover. No way.
So
let's see what Wiki says.
This is I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up right now to confirm.
Oh my god.
It's a crossover, right? They're classifying it as a
crossover SUV. What the hell is that? An SUV is a compact. What the?
So what is happening in recent years, which is why
Ford
the sedan,
C2.
the original Sin, is the worst of the two.
Oh my God.
In recent times, they're taking great cars and they're just calling
they even build the Ford Maverick on this platform. They build everything from the Focus to the Maverick on this platform.
That's just, cost savings by a corporation. Come on, that's genius. But yeah, you have some off-roadability in a crossover.
No, the Bronco Sport has no off-road ability. Sport has no off-road ability. You have just as much off-road ability in your Honda CR-V all-wheel drive.
So, okay. All right. I feel like there's some minor off-road ability there. Agree to disagree. Then you also have the Ioniq 5.
Hold on.
Listen, this is a crossover, classified as a crossover.
Listen, in just the same way that every sedan is the worst version of a wagon, every crossover is a worse version of a hatchback. The Kona N killed the Veloster N. The Veloster looks better and would perform better, but because of the Kona, the Veloster is dead. And I just lost my train of thought. What car are you about to talk about? The Ioniq. The Ioniq
5
would just be better if everything was a bit lower.
Which you can do in the aftermarket, Rob.
No,
you can take that Ioniq 5.
The belt line of the car has to come down. Like
safety
the whole
standards. Safety
everything
standards.
has to come down.
Safety standards, Rob. It's going to be safer.
I mean,
It's gonna be
Hyundai
safer.
did do
You just
some
put your-
incredible design because they what they did was build a hatchback that looks like a crossover. Like it's got no more ground clearance than any other
I think you
car
reversed
on the
that.
road.
They built a crossover that looks like a hatchback because that's exactly what
No,
they
they
did.
built
and
the
that's
hatchback
exactly
looks like a crossover. It's got no more ground clearance. It's like not actually higher than any hatchback. It's just like the way they shaped it, everything just looks high.
All right. The crux of my argument is this. I feel where you're coming from. I do. It's an outdated argument. It's an outdated standpoint. We've got some sweet crossovers coming that it's laughable for what they're classifying as a crossover. But you know what? It's a marketing ploy. If they have to call things like the Bronco Sport a crossover to make them sell, things like even the Subaru XV, even though I'm not the biggest Subaru fan at the moment, that is not a crossover. That is quite literally a hatchback that they jacked up, which, mind you, is basically just a rally car. It's a rally car, Rob. It's not a crossover. It's a rally car, dude.
It's not a rally car. It's front-wheel drive only.
It's Subaru XV. Subaru XV is all-wheel drive. Come on.
Okay,
come on,
Subaru XV is just like a Forester.
Imagine that with a WRX drivetrain. I'd own one right now.
They're not going to build it because you know who's buying them? Weenies. And there already was that car, which was the Forester, and people did make the Forester cool.
And then they lowered it and they turned it into a hatchback because it's just a hatchback. It's just a different hatchback. It's not a crossover. It's a hatchback.
No one's going to do that to crossovers. And you know what else? You know what else is out there? Just, shitting on everything.
What's that?
That it should represent is the Mustang Mach-E.
Oh, I mean, I think that's an SUV. Is that classified as a crossover?
Everything's a crossover. It must be a crossover.
Well, you know what? If they want it to sell, they're going to call it a crossover, Rob.
It's
because crossovers sell.
It's a crossover. It's a compact crossover SUV.
Of course, yeah. It's because they wanted it to sell, and you know what it does? It sells.
I hate the market. It's horrible.
I don't disagree. I will say, in all seriousness, I know this is a fairly silly segment that we have here. I know where you're coming from. I've been a hater of the crossovers segment for a long time. I think it's coming around. I think we're gonna have some. We're currently having some pretty cool crossovers. I think a lot of these crossovers, they're going to end. You lower that car. You know what that is, dude? That's a really cool hatchback, dude. It's a really cool hatchback.
It'd be cooler if it was a Veloster.
Take it from somebody who actually doesn't own a Veloster, and you do. I don't necessarily fully disagree. But if this is how we get our hatchbacks, our hot hatchbacks moving forward, so be it. At least I can put my bike in the back. Unlike a freaking sedan that I can't, even though it can hold people. But can it hold people? What happens if you're 6'2"? You can't hold any people. You can't fit any people behind you anyway. So, what's the point? What's the point, Rob? At least with a hatchback, or I should say, a crossover, I can put my bike in the back, right?
I want to be introduced to the person that ruined wagons and hatchbacks for Americans, so I can punch him in the face because they committed a crime.
Unfortunately, I think you'd be punching every consumer in the face because I think that's what happened. I have a theory here, a little off topic. I have a theory here. I think what happened is you had the little on the nose here. You had the husband and wife. Okay, this might be a little too normy, right? 5-10 years ago, you had the husband and wife trying to decide upon a car, right? Husband, manly, I want an SUV, I want a truck, I want this truck. The wife, hey, let's we just need something to haul around the kids, we don't need anything that much, let's get a little sedan. You combine the two, you get a crossover. Wife signs off on it because honestly, come on. Who's actually signing off on these things? Ladies. You're the ones?
No, the crossover came out
signing off on this.
Of manufacturers realizing they can make really cheap SUVs. That's all a crossover is. Is someone who wants to buy an SUV but can't afford one, and so they buy a crossover because it's almost an SUV. And all the people who are buying crossovers are just people who can't afford to get the even bigger vehicle.
I feel like it's two partners compromising.
Everyone bought what?
It's two partners. It's two partners compromising, right? One wants the efficient small car, four-door sedan.
No one in America wants the efficient small car.
Anything.
No one wants that.
And then the other one wants the large truck SUV. And where they land at the crossover.
Every like non-car female I know wants a big car. They want a truck and they want a big SUV. Every single one of them.
Well, this is a result.
And every single man I know wants that too.
This is a result of things that happened 5 to 10 years ago, right? It takes a long time to design a car. 10 years from now, we don't have anything else other than SUVs and trucks on the road.
I'm gonna. True, but let me take you back to the origin of America's hatred for the hatchback and the wagon. It has to do with the wood paneled wagons. You know, what I don't even know any. The Woodies. It has to go back to the Woodies, right?
Get your minds out together. We're not talking about that.
The Woodies were a symbol of mediocrity. You know, they were a symbol of everything boring, everything crushing your manhood. Yeah. They were just, you got a big Woody. It was horrible to drive. It drove like a boat, and you could just put your whole family in it at once. And there's nothing else redeemable about it other than its functionality, right? Yeah. And so that set in all Americans' minds that those cars could not be luxurious or sporty or anything else but that. It's like at this point,
just so
you cannot make a performance minivan. Like you cannot do anything with the minivan other than make a thing that has the most utilitarian value, right? It's why Porsche doesn't make minivans and Audi doesn't make minivans. None of the premium brands have a minivan in America. And that's why, because you can't. And so that's what happened with the wagon in the 70s. And that's why today we don't get the BMW M3 wagon, whatever,
In the States. Because we had way too many Woodies.
Yeah, that's why.
All right, so to bring this back around full circle, the reason why the sedan's worse than the crossover is that now, the crossover is just a title to sell a car. And we're having some pretty cool crossovers that aren't technically crossovers. They're actually off-roaders and or hot hatches that are just a little bit taller, but not really crossovers. That's my argument. That is the summary of my argument, that if a company wants to sell a car, they're going to call it a crossover, and that's where we're going to get our hot hatches from, our smaller off-roaders, Bronco Sport, and so on. That's where I'm coming from. There's a redeeming situation with the crossover. It's not all doom and gloom.
There will every time you get in your crossover, there will always be that your performance crossover, that bittersweet feeling that it would be so much better if it was just a regular old hatchback. Unlike the sedan, which its driving dynamics would not be improved by being a wagon. Only its functionality. All right,
Damn
guys.
it.
Who won?
Damn it.
Who won the argument? I think I just won. Who won the argument?
I really tried to fight crossovers. All right, everybody.
Now you can never get that Kona N. You're just going to get in and think, wow.
It
would be better if I was sitting 3 inches closer to the ground.
I don't know how, but this Veloster is slower on track. I don't know why, but
no, you're gonna be out there with your Kona N. The steering wheel's like a bus because you're like sitting on top of it, and when you press the gas pedal, you're just pressing straight down onto it. You're just like.
Comment down below. See if I changed your mind at all, slightly maybe about crossovers. I did my best, everybody. I hate sedans, even though I've chosen no Evo in the last FMK. Over a hatchback. I know that's how bad I feel about Subarus right now. Did you own a
sedan once?
Ooh, I did own a sedan. I did own a Galant VR4.
Yeah, exactly. I've never owned a sedan. Never owned a crossover. Never will.
I just lost the argument. If I didn't already lose the argument, I should
have opened with that. We could have wrapped this up real fast.
Where's the fun in that? All right. Comment down below. How many crossovers do you hate? All of them. Okay, that's okay. All right. Let us know down below.
Oh, man. All right, Dylan. So you've got 3 cars for me today for a little FMK segment here. So what's the scoop? What do we got?
All right. So I'm giving you 3 cars to F, marry, and kill. And we've kind of danced around one of these cars, Rob, quite a bit. The first car that I'm going to give you is a car that I know you hold very close to your heart, the Cobalt SS.
Oh,
all right.
God.
Yeah, you know where this segment is going. I'm going to give you a 2005 Cobalt SS. And
is this like the worst version of every performance car or something? Is that the segment?
Hey, this is the SS. This is the best version of the Cobalt. What are we talking about? What are you talking about here? It's
worst version of the Neon.
It's gonna be the Cobalt SS. You know where I'm going with this, but I'm gonna give you a little curveball here at the end. So the next car is the Neon SRT4, right? This is 2005.
Okay.
We've got the Cobalt SS to choose from. We've got the Dodge Neon SRT4 to
wait,
choose.
hold on. I got to clear this up. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The Cobalt is not the worst version. The Caliber. It's the Caliber. My mistake.
It is the Caliber that's the worst version.
It's the Caliber.
Of that platform,
the Caliber is the real.
Sure.
Okay, please continue.
You're fine. Okay, so we've got Cobalt SS. We've got Neon SRT4. What's the natural third car in this segment? It's a car that I already know that you're going to answer to marry, and that's the Focus SVT. For any listeners on our podcast right now, you, Rob, are obsessed with this car. You own this car. You're going to choose this car. So I'm not going to give you this car. I am going to make it a Ford, though, because these are all domestic tuner cars. And here's a domestic tuner car that we never got, so technically it wasn't a domestic tuner car, but of the same era. It's still 2005. The
Ford ST.
The Ford ST, the Euro car that we never got here. Really, honestly,
man, I bet that
Gen 1 that we never received, and does have, like, those wheels are the same as our Focus ST that we got here in the States, but this was before that. It's a 5-door. So this is the segment. This was the curveball, this Euro Focus ST. So
interesting.
The links that I sent you aren't Bring a Trailer like we typically use,
have
because
the 5-cylinder Volvo 2.5.
Yes, yeah. They weren't Bring a Trailer because there are no Focus STs on Bring a Trailer, so I sent you different ones.
Are there Cobalts, though? Are there Cobalt SSs?
Oh, there's definitely Cobalts on there.
Yeah. Let me get that ultra low mileage garage kept Cobalt SS.
Cobalt. What? So, real quick rundown. The Cobalt, 207 horsepower, 200 foot-pounds of torque. These are all 4-cylinder. The 2005 was supercharged, so it's the only one of the 3 that... that's supercharged. SRT4, again, 4-cylinder, but turbocharged, 215 horsepower, 245 torque. A lot more torque. That thing was a torque beast. And then the Euro Focus ST, a car that we didn't get here, it's making quite a bit of power. 225 horsepower, 236 foot-pounds torque. Which car are you going to F, marry, and kill?
Dylan, I'm going to say I don't think you know me as well as you think, because the Ford isn't doing it for me. See, here's the thing.
I don't know you as well then.
Back in 2005, when I was an avid, road and track and Motor Trend reader, 5 years before I had my driver's license.
At the dentist office waiting for your mom to get out. Yep.
Yes. Or on the toilet, with a stack of magazines in front of me. The Cobalt SS was quite the car. You know, the magazine said this is the best handling hot hatch to come out. Best thing everyone else on the market. Up until the Speed 3 came out, of course, which then bested that. But I really want to drive the Cobalt SS. Also, it's like supercharged, which is, you know, nifty. That Roots blower on the 2-liter. It's everything else is turbo. So I'm doing the F for the Cobalt SS.
Really?
Yeah.
For all the crap that you've spoken about that car in previous episodes, you are
No, I'm not a Cobalt hater. Okay. I'm a Caliber hater.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a Caliber hater.
Okay.
Yeah, the Dodge Caliber is a horrendous vehicle. It's terrible.
I don't disagree with you there.
No, the Cobalt was awesome. And then you're
going to experiment with the Cobalt.
Yeah, I'm going to
Cobalt. You got me saying Cobalt. It's the Cobalt.
The Cobalt.
You want a one night
Cobalt
fling with the Cobalt. You got it.
With the Cobalt. And the Neon SRT4, that's what I want every day because that is a modern classic. And I want to be seen in the SRT4 every day.
You want to be seen in a Neon.
Right. Most people will think, you know, I'm poor, broke, down on my luck. You know, the career's going nowhere. I got no money. Probably just got out of rehab. This is the only thing, you know. It's worth $500 on a good day, right? It barely moves. I haven't gotten inspected in 5 years. But then some people will know that's an SRT4. That's sick. You know?
Got that street cred.
And then I'll give them that nod. Yeah, it's got that street cred. I want that SRT4 every day. You know, I want to relish in what is probably the worst interior ever made. A friend of mine his dad had a Neon growing up, and every single piece of that interior was like broken in one way or another. Every single piece, everything you touched creaked, broke, was sticky. Yeah, I want to relish in that every day. And this Focus ST, I hate those wheels.
It's funny because that's the design they used in the later ST that we got.
I hate those wheels too. And Ford was just, this is just it's just boring. It looks very boring. It is not in the least exciting. Kind of like this orange trim, this orange and gray. That's very British of them, very European on this orange and gray seats here. But really, it doesn't inspire anything in me, especially the exterior.
So the curveball, you didn't blink and you smashed that thing out of left field, home run, not a problem.
It's not the SVT. The SVT is like a whole nother department at Ford. You know, they're just off their face with the stuff they were making. You know, the Cobra SVT and the Lightning and the Focus, like those are incredible vehicles. But the ST line to this day is, you know, I mean, now what does ST mean? You're going to have an ST Edge, your ST Escape.
I think that's the last ST that's out there for consumers.
Yeah, I believe so.
They peaked with the Fiesta. Yep.
You know?
Yep. All right, so you are marrying the Neon.
Yeah.
You are taking a one-night stand with that Cobalt because you want to know what they were all raving about.
The best
and you know what?
Drive car in 05.
You could care less about what's going on in Europe in the Ford division. Doesn't matter. Just send that to the crusher. All right. You know,
we need modern SVT cars. Like I want an SVT F-150 and I want an SVT Mustang.
I can't disagree with you there. That would be awesome. That would absolutely be awesome. That would be
what
really
would they make?
interesting.
You know, just be like out of left field.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that the SVT Cobra had independent rear suspension?
I believe it was
instead of a solid axle.
Yeah, I believe it was the first Mustang with an IRS.
How insane is that?
Yeah.
How insane would it be to take a car and just be like, yeah, we're going to redesign like this, it's, like, I don't even know what to compare it to, It's like
I think the closest thing to compare it to is the Mustang GTD with the transmission in the back.
Yeah,
in
pretty
terms
much,
of that
pretty much.
moment of like, this is a revolutionary situation for the platform of the Mustang, where the first time ever the transmission's in the back.
Yeah,
the first time
they
ever,
just like
we have an
totally
IRS.
redesigned the car. They're like,
Yes.
you know what?
Yep.
Let's just put independent rear suspension in it, along with all the other stuff they're going, all the other engine and other performance. Independent rear suspension. Why
also
not?
side pipes in the SVT.
Dang, now I want one.
Mustang. Oh, me too. All right, so Rob, I don't think you're entirely wrong. I would not marry the Neon. I already drive an embarrassing car with the Miata. I don't need another one, so it wouldn't be the Neon.
What? Didn't you just hear how I said how much of a flex the SRT4 is? Not to mention you'd be like, you're the only one left on the road. Actually, that's how the Cobalt SS is too. There's none of those left out there.
Yeah, it's actually funny you say that. Stefan, friend of the channel, Nat Motorsports, shout out. There is an old grandma rolling around his neighborhood with an SRT4.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's like mint. And if that thing ever goes for sale...
put a note on her windshield.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But for me, that would be the one night, one wild ride would be the Neon, right? I already live with an embarrassing car with the Miata. I don't need another, but you know what? Look away for one night. Let's go find out what this thing's all about. And the car that I would marry of the three would be the Cobalt. And I would do that because another friend of mine in high school had one. And dude, that thing was sick. It was definitely the coolest domestic tuner car competing with all of the Japanese imports. It had, I believe, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure it had an LSD. It was better than the Saturn Redline, I believe, for that reason, because the Saturn Redline didn't have that. I don't know if that's 100%. I don't have those specs in front of me. But, yeah, I could see myself, a younger me, not me currently, dailying that car and really enjoying what it had to offer. And, yeah, supercharger whine, pretty cool. And that Focus ST isn't also doing anything for me. I thought it was going to be a little more of a curveball for you because it wasn't the obvious choice anymore, like the SVT Focus was. But I will say with that car, you see a lot of what the Focus ST here in the States became,
and
it was way better. Both of us going in opposite directions. I own a Focus of the same generation. It's not the ST. I think it became a lot better than what it is there. I still wouldn't trade my Focus for one today or spend more money on one because it's not doing anything for me. But it is what led to the Focus RS, which I love. Love that car. So maybe that's where I'm a little partial to it, but not too far off. Not too far off. We're both crushing that Focus.
You got to bring back the domestic.
It's one of the
hot hatch segment.
Absolutely. It's one of the few, that Focus ST, one of the few Euro-specific Fords that I would crush. Usually they got better cars than us, but...
The Dart. Where's our performance Dodge Dart?
They were, I think, messing around, flirting with that. They were flirting with that for a minute.
Could be cool.
Could be cool.
With a name like Dart.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, let us know down below. Do we crush the right car? Which car are you marrying? Which car are you having one wild ride with? It's got to be the Neon. Come on. It's got to be the Neon. That thing's nuts. Let us know down below.
So, as everyone knows, car prices have been nuts. Talked about it before. We all know it. Even if you don't give a crap about cars, you know it. As with most things, right? Inflation is crazy, but the car market in particular has just been going nuts. And what is especially relevant to us, Dylan, is the used car market and the enthusiast used car market. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me you think the bubble has burst finally. We're on the way back down, maybe.
Yeah. I'm thinking at the very least it's plateauing, but I have a feeling that, I think we're coming down a bit from it. I'm not getting as angry when I'm seeing for sale ads about clapped out Miatas.
So you're gauging it on kind of on your personal like joy anger ratio on this, you know.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like most people, my locus of control being myself and what I'm seeing on social media is creating less anger in me. So therefore, the reality must be used car prices are going down in the enthusiast market. No. In all seriousness, there are a couple markers that I've been paying attention to. One is, I've already mentioned him on this podcast, but Stefan Knapp, friend of the channel, just recently sold his K Miata on not Bring a Trailer, but Cars and Bids, Doug DeMuro's equivalent to Bring a Trailer. And honestly, it sold for a little less than I think I and you were expecting it to sell for. It sold for right around $16,000.
Little disappointing as a fellow K-Swap Miata owner.
Yeah, I think both of us were pretty set that it would see 20, thereabouts. 19, 20, 21, it would probably have landed around there. And I'm willing to bet, Rob, that last summer it would have seen that. It would have seen that number. Now, that's just a gut instinct. I don't really have any factual evidence to back that up. That's just a gut instinct. But that led me to research and just look at the used car trends for enthusiast vehicles. And the easiest way that I know how to do that is on Bring a Trailer. They have plotted out in charts. If you look up, say, an E46 M3, you can see every single posted E46 M3 on a graph over time, right? So you've got
so everything that's
on
sold
the left
and what it got to if it didn't sell.
Exactly, and I looked up a number of different types of cars. Of course, the cars that I'm realistically interested, like the E46 M3, like the C6 Corvette, like the NA Miata, because if I'm going to get one of these cars, I'm going to sell my own car. As well as some others like the S2000. I looked up the Fox Body Mustang. I know that's been hot lately, and a couple others that I'm not recalling at this exact moment. But what most of them had, except for the Fox Body, which I'll talk to next, which pretty much all of them had was a rapid increase that we all felt during COVID, right?
Sure.
Market was going nuts during that. Shoots up. And everything has pretty much plateaued at around, end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And I wouldn't say that used prices have come down except for one, and now I remember which one of the ones that I looked up, the Lotus Elise. The Lotus Elise kind of peaked, and if you look this up on Bring a Trailer, you'll see all the dots get kind of high, and then they've recently come back down a bit. Most of the cars I looked up just have plateaued, except for one, and that is the Fox Body Mustang. It seems to be going through a somewhat delayed price jump on Bring a Trailer. Fox Bodies are hot right now, is basically what I'm saying, and most other cars I looked up have pretty much plateaued.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing the plateau. I'm waiting for the actual drop, the correction, the market correction.
Like I did see with the Lotus. I did see a bit of correction, quote unquote, with the Lotus where it went up, kind of plateaued, and then it has kind of dipped back down on that graph. Yeah. Now, this is just Bring a Trailer, so this is very specific to a subset of a subset of a subset.
Right, it's enthusiasts, and
and it's top tier quality typically on Bring a Trailer as well.
Right.
It's not just any enthusiast car or any like a type of enthusiast car. It's like the top quality of that type of car typically speaking, with Bring a Trailer.
I mean, what in the bigger market, like, looking at the trends there, the November of last year saw like the highest ever for new car sales, right? Averaging 47,000. But it also saw the first time since, since 2021 that the average new car price was lower than, or the average paid for the new car was lower than the price, meaning that, people on average were able to get a car at under MSRP.
So it was reverting back to what it was normally before.
Right. Basically, you have some bargaining power when you purchase a new car. And that's not the used market, but it is saying something about, I mean, that's what caused the used market to blow up, right?
Was dealer markup is what you're getting at.
Well, new cars being so expensive, dealer markup. So they get marked up. So it's like, okay, I can only afford a used car, and also the liquidation of inventory, right? Like during COVID, dealerships liquidated their inventory, new and used, and so there's no inventory.
And then on top
afterwards,
of that,
and then on top increased
of that,
demand.
Exactly, and then on top of that, during COVID, a lot of manufacturers shut down production, so it increased the scarcity of that. So dealer markups increased. Yeah.
And then, and you had no supply
thus forcing everyone in the used market that needed a car.
Right. And now supply chains are starting to sort out, and things are getting more stable. Of course, now you just had the strike for GM, so that won't help. But otherwise, supply chains are stabilizing. So like new cars are getting made much faster now, and there's more stuff on lots. So hopefully it's coming down.
I'm also wondering what effect the interest rates have had. That also might be part of what's cooling off the used car market is the increase in our interest rates.
That's true. It's one thing to pay, 5K over, but 5K over plus 6%, 7-8% APR. Yeah.
I think what's happened is, or could have happened, let's say I'm a normal buyer. Let's remove the enthusiast out of it. I need a car, period. My car's at the shop. It needs $8,000 at the service. I absolutely need a car.
Yeah.
The new cars, the markup's crazy. I'm going to get a used car. I think that scenario has probably played out for a lot of people. I'm not saying it's not happening currently, but I think it probably played out for a lot of people. Whereas if I didn't need a new car, I would fix my current used car, and I'm just going to try to make it as long as I can. And that is likely becoming more and more the choice as the interest rates are going up. It's like these used cars, it's not making mathematical sense to buy a used car as much now. It's going to require my bill that I'm staring at, at the auto shop down the road to be that much higher. So now it makes more and more sense to just kind of keep the car that I have on the road and pay the rather large bill of maintenance that's kind of waiting for me.
Yeah,
at the
saying
end of
that
that.
keeping cars on the road is more important. That
more, it's becoming more like realistic in terms of the math. It's just becoming like a better cost benefit analysis to just keep my used car going because the interest rates are so high.
Yeah. And apparently, I was hearing this on another news story that lots of aftermarket manufacturers have like shifted all their production towards new cars because there was, so much demand for producing parts for new cars, and because of the supply chain issues and whatnot. So there was like not enough parts, just, replacement parts being made for older cars. And now with the, American automaker strike, they don't need parts right now, right? So some of these manufacturers are going to shift back over to making parts for, for older cars again for a little while that goes on.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting scenarios are playing out. We could almost do a whole segment on the auto strikes that are happening here in the U.S. It's just in like the infancy stage, so it's pretty early on in that news story, but it'll be interesting to see the ripple effects and what happens to the industry.
It will be.
How long
it
they
will
strike
See
for, obviously.
how it
kind of
affects,
being
like,
the main
supply,
thing.
dealer supply and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you all? Have you felt a cooling of the market? I think it's a good thing. I think both of us would probably agree, and most people would agree, that it needs to kind of cool off a little bit, like the market in general.
Oh my God, yeah.
Things,
If I ever wanna buy a
inflation.
house.
Yeah, inflation's just kind of been running away and creating a larger and larger gap in our country. No different for an enthusiast trying to have a fun car. So it definitely needed to take a bit of a hit. It'll be interesting to see what happens, though, yeah, with these strikes. Does that increase the hit that it takes? Does it really start to cool off the market, or does the opposite thing happen?
I think the strikes would do the opposite a little bit on the new market. Hopefully
Yeah.
it doesn't last too long, that it has a significant effect. But I think also with the used market, there was just some mania with like COVID, like
Yep.
during COVID, people had nothing to do. So there's just like this mania of like buying stuff. And I think that like sort of carried over into now. And you also have this, like, I don't know, collective car collecting mania, but hopefully it cools a little bit. We'll see. We could go buy a classic American muscle for very cheap. So, because all the people who care about them are dying. So, if you want
Yeah.
a 65
Yeah.
Mustang, cheaper than ever. It's just the stuff that we care about.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting thought. How generations of cars get lost in time as the generation of people that cared about them starts to move on and
Yeah.
kind of exits from
Absolutely.
the scenario. Well, on that somber note,
That's it, folks.
that's it. Good luck. We're all gonna die sometime. No, yeah. Have you felt the cooling of the market? Is there, Rob? Okay. In all seriousness,
Yeah.
if the market were to cool right now, you've got a K Miata, you've got a Hyundai Veloster. What are you eyeing out there? If the market were to cool off and interest rates were to be somewhat realistic, what are you eyeing to replace of those two vehicles, and what are you replacing it with?
I don't know, man. I don't think there's a new car to replace the Veloster. You know what I would just get some. I would want a really cheap beater. I feel like you can't even get a cheap beater right now. But if I
Yeah.
could get like a rusty Subaru 2.5 RS, like 2-door for like, $1,500, $2,000, I would do that.
Yeah, that was 8 years ago. Those don't exist
That
anymore.
was
Those
like- that
rusty
was like
2.5
right
RSs.
Dude, right before COVID, you could have
Yeah.
done that.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
gotta find something like in PA.
That's true.
You just find something, the whole like wheel wells. You just gotta find something that won't pass inspection, right? And then you have a guy, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
the one guy's like, my car won't pass inspection. It's not worth much. And then you buy it like $1,500, and then you have a guy and you just pass the inspection. Then you're good. Because it's just cosmetic rust, just like the wheel arch just isn't there.
Yeah, yeah. It's not there at all.
That's the move. But you can't even do that right now. So
No, because that car is worth $6,000.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening to yet another edition of the Early Apex. Rob, this was fun. This was a good one.
It's been a pleasure, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Stay tuned. We've got more stuff on the way. If you have any ideas of segments, comment down below. Let us know. We're always open to that. But stay tuned. More stuff coming out bi-weekly these days.
Absolutely. All right. Till next time, guys.
See ya.